Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today's all-new top 10 list is this time the 10 worst live-action adaptations.
It happens to everything eventually. Your favorite comic, animated series, or manga gets turned into live action.
Oh God.
Once in a while they're great ones, but most of the time they're a disgrace to the source material.
Oh my God.
But
Before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notifications of future podcasts and all the pause videos.
absolutely. Thank you for joining us for this fun countdown. Also for subscribing, sharing our videos, and commenting. We appreciate you so much.
Yes.
And are you ready? Because here we go from number 10 to number 1.
Right.
Starting off with number 10.
Believe it or not, the Last Airbender Netflix series. And I know you're probably pretty shocked for us to say that after we covered it.
Yes. And it made number 10 because it did have some good things about it.
Right.
But for the most part, the storyline and plot line and the characters just weren't what they were in the anime.
Right.
And we do know that usually when adaptations are done, sometimes there are changes, but Netflix kept bragging that it was going to be so close to the series.
Right.
And then they decided to flip the coin.
Yep. And while it is still infinitely better than the live action movie version, it has its own set of problems. And they really believed, as you said, all the changes that they made to the characters or storylines and stuff were for the benefit of taking it more seriously or making it more adult, because only children watched the original series and pretty much insulted
Me,
I'm
children.
and pretty much insulted everybody who watched the old show. And when you start paying attention to these things, you start noticing a lot of stuff is just really, really off. The characters don't act the same. They really empower one that didn't need it. Azula has been changed. Aang's been changed. You can't have any fun because you can't take it seriously if it's a comedy. So we'll make it Game of Thrones.
Right. Some of the actors were good. You can't fault them for bad source material.
Right.
Some of the performances were good in some situations. And they really did go out of their way to have a fantastic set and
Yes.
costumes.
Yes, those are the best things.
This is not our last Airbender, and that is why this made our number 10 spot.
Right.
Number 9 is Black Butler.
Yes, there is actually a live action movie.
Made and produced by Warner Brothers. Now, we were so surprised when we learned this. And we saw the poster. And for whatever reason, they decided to glow up the actor. I guess to make him look more like Sebastian in the anime.
For the poster.
And no, that is not why we wanted to see the movie. We wanted to see the movie because we have watched everything Black Butler. The only thing we haven't done is read the manga, maybe one day.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, okay, they showed him and nothing else. Okay, well then this is probably going to be really good. Then you get to the movie, and it's not CL, but it's a woman that's an adult, clearly, dressed like a young boy, CL. And the poster was glowed up. This guy looks nothing like Sebastian. We didn't understand why they decided to do that. The story actually takes from season 1, but you're constantly being told, this isn't Black Butler season 1. Really?
No. What they basically did is that they took, as you said, season 1, and they made it reimagined it into modern day, and this is supposed to be CL's descendant somehow, and Sebastian somehow is still around, and somehow he's still working with his family, and somehow he ends up being the butler to his CL's descendant, who does the exact same thing as CL pretends to be a man.
And dresses the exact same way. So if this is modern day, why is she wearing the clothes that's worn in the animated series that takes place clearly in another time period?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. The acting is pretty bad. Sorry. The
Oh,
storyline is crap. They didn't even dub it, so you had to read it and watch it.
Even they were in London,
And
it
it's
was
like-
in Japanese.
It's like Warner Brothers? Warner Brothers? Dub this for all audiences?
No.
If you're a Black Butler fan and you haven't seen this movie, don't. If you haven't watched anything Black Butler, watch the anime, watch the OVAs, watch the movies. Don't watch the live action movie.
Nope, stay away.
Number 8,
is the Oran High School Host Club movie.
2012. Our condolences to anyone who watched this along with us.
Oh,
This was not Oran. It
least
sucked
not
all
us.
the fun out of the series and made it a drama, and characters ended up getting hurt and taken to the hospital and falling down the stairs.
Yeah.
And no, we're not joking.
We're
This
getting
actually happened in the movie.
yes. At first, in like the first half of the film, it tries to keep true for being a screwball comedy, even going out of the way to putting in some animation stuff to make it look exaggerated. Some of it comes off a little too much, but they at least tried that half. Then comes a turning point where they're doing the sports festival thing, and they have this subplot where there's two people that are supposed to get married, but they don't know if they're going to, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, Tamaki gets hurt, falls down the stairs, and is put into a coma for almost the rest of the movie. And then the movie stops being a comedy. It is now a drama, and they don't know if he's going to survive or not.
And Haruhi is just, I don't know who this
Not
person
Haruhi.
is. At least the two playing the twins had their hair bleached.
Right.
So that it would look more red, like the twins.
Right.
But other than that, why
Why?
was this made? It was such a disappointment because we really were excited. We had read that the series wasn't good. So we said, well, the series isn't good. Well, the movie's probably going to be fun.
Right.
No.
And it's just a waste.
There's one line that stands out. One scene that is absolutely hilarious. And this should have been the entire movie cut to this scene.
All right.
And it's when Tamaki and Haruhi are having a discussion about
the manga. Oh yeah, about them supposed to be a couple, and he's trying to convince her that they're meant to be together, and she doesn't believe it. And so he pulls out this giant golden frame from a picture from the manga where the two actually canonically get married in the manga. And he says, see, look, we get married in the manga. That means we have to get together here too. And she said, well, adaptations change things, you know.
And that was the funniest part of the movie.
I said, yeah.
So if you haven't seen Oran High School Host Club movie 2012, we say give it a pass.
Right.
Number 7 is the Mob Psycho 100 series of 2018, which actually was released on Netflix
Yeah,
in the U.S. to watch.
Believe it or not. And we never knew this existed until long after we started watching the anime of Mob Psycho.
Again, we were hoping this was going to be good. We were hoping it was going to be at least similar to the anime. And it was a similar to. We'll give them that.
Yeah.
But the people were too old playing the characters, which
here we
happens
go.
to be one really big problem with every adaptation. There are never any people that are teens playing it.
Right.
I don't know if they've got employment or underage laws in Japan where they just don't want to do it. If you know, let us know in the comments. But for me, I'm pretty tired of seeing 25 and 30-year-olds playing teens.
Right.
I want to see people that at least maybe in their early 20s playing these roles.
Right.
But if you're 30, why are you playing a 17-year-old?
Exactly.
Yes, I know they did it in Smallville with Superman, which shocked me. The guy was 25 playing a teenager.
Right.
But gosh, all of these people in this series were way too old to be playing the high school character.
Right. Then on top of that, they took and rushed season 1 so quickly that it was done within maybe 10 episodes or less. And none of it was actually funny. It didn't work. They rushed so many things and then tried to make a finale where every character you had seen was involved in the final battle rather than Mob versus the main antagonist of the season. And they just tried so hard to fit too many things that were really the standouts of the anime and the season into one thing and ended up being a complete mess and unenjoyable.
Best part, costumes were really good.
Yes.
And the special effects were good.
Yes.
And that's it. Number 6 is Full Metal Alchemist. There's too much to talk about here.
Oh, goodness.
We're only going to address the first one.
Right.
Because the second one, the third one, which was number 2 in the new trilogy that came out, they actually had improved. And then went back downhill. So let's talk about the first one that everyone knows and we're disappointed with. We did a podcast initially, having never seen the series, and we were like, oh my gosh, this looks great. We tried with the costumes, and the best part was Al.
Looking exactly like the
Yes,
anime.
but not being able to move. And we rewatched it after seeing this series, and we had to do a retraction because the first Full Metal Alchemist movie was garbage.
Yeah, unfortunately. And it's like a nearly 2-hour film, and they squeeze stuff from literally all over the manga into one film. By the time they get to the third movie with the actual finale, it doesn't feel like you're watching a finale. And when you're watching here, they throw a Winry into everything. They have the villains and Tucker be way more in the forefront than they need to be.
Yes.
Ed can't emote very well. He makes very weird blue steel faces.
And we're not going to insult
Fujioka
because I like him as a scene artist, but he should not have been Run Mustang.
Oh, gosh.
And two things you pointed out, yes, too much Winry, and my gosh, if you're not going to want to bleach your hair or wear a wig, don't play the role.
Right.
That's one of the big caveats in these movies. I understand that people want to keep their hair pretty, but that's what wigs are for.
Yep.
If you don't want to bleach your hair blonde, put on a blonde wig so at least you look like Winry. And I kept saying, Winry's not Winry. That's not Winry. I don't know who that is, but that's not Winry. She was just this character that wasn't Winry. And she was the worst part of the movie in terms of the character.
Right. And ironically, the best part of any of the movies from here was that when they reenacted the scene of her in Scar, a later adaptation was better than what they had here, and it's so sad.
Definitely. So, number 5
is Assassination Classroom.
Also known as Ass Class.
Yes.
You see it a lot.
Yes, you know that's hilarious.
And this is not Nagisa. This is not
Karma.
This is not the class. Again, all of the people are too old to be playing these characters.
And then none of them even stand out. You can tell all the students in the class stood out, whether it be their hair, their design, their personality, their clothes, something. There's always something about them that stood out. All these people blend in with each other. Nagisa does not have the blue hair or the same personality or anything. Everybody just blends in. You're supposed to focus on Koro Sensei.
Highlights like they did in Saki K, or they could have just done like a tint and put it over the hair, or he could have just put on a freaking wig.
Yes, it's just that easy. It seemed like all the focus was to see how great Koro Sensei was adapted, and in one way, yes,
that was the best part of the movie.
He was.
The Koro Sensei outfit and the special effects. That was the best part of the movie.
That's it, pretty much. Just don't have his mouth move. It looked creepy.
And as there was a part 1 and a part 2.
Yeah, and as of recording this, we have not seen part 2. We've just seen part 1, which covered all of season 1, which was a catastrophe.
Yes, definitely. And I don't see us even watching part 2 because, no. Number 4.
The Last Airbender movie from 2010. This had to make the list.
This would have actually made number 1, if not for some other ones we see after watching it. Everyone in the existence of the world knows this is the worst thing ever. This is like an insult to everything, like Airbender, an insult to the writers, the producers, the directors, the voice actors, and the audience and the fan base.
Right.
This was the worst piece of garbage ever.
Yes. And it tried to adapt all of book 1 into one film. Well, the problem was they didn't know pacing or story or writing or acting or nothing. Any semblance of actual film, to the point where this was unrecognizable as The Last Airbender. You just felt like half the time we fell asleep on it when we actually tried to rewatch it.
This is the worst Sokka ever. This Sokka is worse than the one in the Netflix series.
Right.
This Sokka here gosh, he should have just stayed with Twilight. He should never have been in Last Airbender. The girl was not Katara.
No.
We cannot insult the actor who played Aang.
Because he really
was a
boy.
kid.
Right.
He did the best he could do with the content he was given.
Right.
But as far as the other people, except for the one who played Zuko,
Yeah.
the performances were terrible. They should have never been cast. And it was just really, really an insult to mankind.
Right. And if you really want to know how bad it is, they had a Earthbender camp take place on the ground on Earth, and it takes 6 people to move 1 rock. So I should tell you how terrible this thing is.
The best actor in it was Dev Patel.
Yeah, right, pretty much.
Number 3 is the Zom 100 Netflix movie.
Yes.
Don't even ever bother to see it. Don't even waste your time. Next month, don't you dare stick your foot in that water. Don't
Oh my
even
God.
try watching it. It is
Yeah.
one of the worst adaptations ever.
Yeah, and
The horrible part is how great the anime is.
exactly. And then you had no warning of this. They kind of just released this at the same time as the anime release on Netflix.
Now that was brilliant marketing. It was very smart because the anime was so awesome. Pick up on that momentum and the fandom having fun.
Right,
And that's why we watched it. Bad move.
right. And then worst of all, none of the voice actors from the anime did the dub for English for this movie.
Rosina Robinson.
No, and then the story itself is very unfortunately lackluster. They pretty much cut out a majority of the story, and they don't even end it where the anime ended with the main character's family. They actually ended where they're at the aquarium and just rushed straight to the shark coming on land, attacking everybody because Jaws, bark, 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 bark.
They took a scene that was about 3 minutes in the anime and turned it into a 20-minute scene.
Right, we're not kidding.
You just want to pull your hair out. It was so bad, so horribly done. It's like, why would you focus on this? It didn't deserve this
Right.
much attention.
And then it's not even really a comedy / horror. It
Sure.
just kind of makes it more introspective, existential. It's a lot more sad. They don't really goof around that much aside from one scene. They actually take this story really seriously. It's not a comedy.
So we tell you, watch the Zone 100 anime if you've never seen it. Read the manga. Stay away from the live-action movie because it's atrocious.
Yes.
Number 2 is Cowboy Bebop, the Netflix series.
Oh.
And yes, this is number 2 because we didn't think anything could be worse than this, but we were wrong. But let's stick with the Cowboy Bebop Netflix series.
Yeah.
Best thing about this series, there were a few things. One was the opening where they tried to imitate the anime opening.
Yes.
Really good job. Costumes were done well.
And the music, which was still the same composer.
Yes, and trying to fit some of the characters. Trying to fit some. And then it crashed.
I think the only one who really fit, surprisingly, was the one who played Jet. Jet Black. He's really the only actor that fit in the entire cast.
I personally think John Cho fit, but for some reason they decided to age him up, make him older, and make him actually look older in the movie, which made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then they had him doing such dangerous stunts that he got hurt on set.
Yeah, that weren't even necessary.
Absolutely. We won't get into not Fei Fei because
We already know that story.
yeah, we're not gonna get to that. And we definitely don't want to dwell on Ed. That was like bad move on their part.
Right.
The worst part of this was the storyline.
Yes. The storyline is that there isn't really any. They just took certain episodes that the producer really liked from the anime and decided to give them more edge to it. And then it went from being a sort of melodrama / comedy / sci-fi, whole mixture of genres. They tried to make it into a very violent, high-octane comedy. Everything is a joke in here. Nothing's taken seriously. Even gets to the final episode, and they have Juliet push Spike out the dang window and wanted that to be taken seriously. They just completely upend everything. And then worst of all, they try to tell you that they're fixing the mistakes of the anime because they didn't do much of anything right, and then pissed off every single fan in existence.
Two things that were really the worst offenses here. One, Cowboy Bebop is an anime that the majority of people can watch. Young children can't.
You're right.
Most people can. This piece of garbage has so much vulgarity, so many nasty, horrible jokes and
vulgar jokes,
and violence that was just over the top. That if you're under the age of 21, you probably shouldn't be watching.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that they took characters that you liked or loved or admired and ruined them. Grin here wasn't Grin.
No.
Just was not Grin. Sorry, folks. This was not Grin.
Nope.
This was not Fei Fei. This was not Ed. This was not even Vicious. And then we saw the behind the scenes, and they took a guy, just like John Tro, that was attractive, and horrified him up to be vicious, and you don't understand what was the point of that. This was just one of the worst things ever, and they kept bragging how great it was going to be, and bragging what a great job they did.
Right.
And then people got to see it, and people started canceling their Netflix subscriptions.
Yep.
And it got so bad that Netflix finally canceled it before it finished airing.
And then raised all the fees.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop Netflix series, don't. Don't waste your time.
Don't.
Watch this series. Watch the amazing anime movie that takes place after, because fantastic, top tier, primo anime Cowboy Bebop is.
Yes.
But not this. And now for our number one, and as I said, we didn't think there was any way in heck that anything could be worse than Cowboy Bebop. Then we finally got to watch this movie. Dragon Ball Evolution 2009.
Where do you start with this? We now understand why this is considered one of the worst adaptations in human history. This is not Dragon Ball, period. No. Nothing about this is Dragon Ball. If you didn't have the names, you would think this was some other movie that was poking fun at Dragon Ball.
And why was it called Evolution? Because you didn't see an evolution.
Of what?
You didn't see him as a child. You didn't see him in the beginning at 12, and then evolving 12, 18, 23. You didn't see it.
No, he's already an adult by the time. Well,
an adult playing a teen. Again, an adult playing a teen, and not 12, and there was no evolution at all.
No, it wasn't. And it was like de-evolution the way this movie was going. And the whole thing was just almost a chore to sit through. There's sometimes we laughed at how bad it was, but most of the time it felt like an insult because we just read the entire manga, started the anime, and they get literally nothing right. No one looks like the characters. They're not in Japan or a fictional world. They try to put them in modern day America, in a city. Goku goes to school. Chi-Chi goes to school. Bulma's a bad A super spy protecting her father.
Wasn't in school. Chi-Chi I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Bulma. Bulma was a grown woman.
Who was like a spy.
And probably about 30-year-old woman.
It's like, what? And then dang Piccolo. What are they doing to my Piccolo? He doesn't look like anything on Earth. He looks like he's in a bad rubber mask suit, and they want to say this was Piccolo. He wanted to destroy the world.
This just, I don't know if Toriyama wrote off.
I don't know.
If Toriyama wrote off on this or not, I don't know. But this is just, I understand why people say it's so terrible now. Because it is. It's just not worth the film it was made on. And you can't even say, well, the actors were giving a bad script, because the actors were bad. The costumes were bad. The setting was bad. There was no story. It didn't stick to anything, as you said. The title is bad. Nothing is good about Dragon Ball Evolution 2009, except that it ended. That was the best part, literally, when this movie was over.
And they had the goal to have a post-credit scene where, like, Piccolo's alive, like, oh, we're teasing the sequel. You really thought this was going to get a second film? You finished this one.
Delusions of grandeur.
Right.
So that's our top 10. Now, you're probably wondering about one, Tokyo Revengers. Well, the first live action movie is getting its own podcast next year from us. And yeah, we can't wait.
Yes, it's got a lot to say on there.
It deserves its own podcast.
Yep.
But if you think any of these are not in the right order or deserve to be on this list, let us know in the comments. And if you think there were some that were worse than this that should have made our list, let us know as well. And
if you haven't already, subscribe for updates, reviews for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. And stay tuned for our October countdown, where we tell you about our top 10 favorite animated villains.
Yes.
It's going to be a good one.
Yay.
And as always, thank you so much for subscribing, for sharing your videos, commenting, and so much more. We appreciate you. And as always,
you are special. Thank you so much for watching. Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.